Hey everyone, my name is Dave Sincox, a longtime resident of New Jersey. Well, actually, I've spent my whole life here. One of the biggest reasons is the ocean. The ocean has always been a part of my life. My dad being an avid fisherman, I was always on his boat in his free time. As I got older, my relationship with the ocean turned into bodyboarding, and then on my 10th birthday, I got my first surfboard. Since then, I've never looked back on surfing. It's always been an activity that has always gotten most of my attention. But over the past few years, I'm starting to look at the ocean differently. Instead of getting excited about tubes, I'm waiting for smaller days to surf a longer length craft with some friends. On my 31st year of surfing, I'm after a different feeling and something new. So after some planning and some courage, I'm packing my truck, driving 8 hours south to link up with Trip Foreman of Real Water Sports to be taught something that I never thought I would do: Surfoil. Surfoiling is one of those things that is so new that a good majority of surfers are either scared or they just don't want to accept something different. For me personally, it reminds me of a lot of things that I used to do when I was younger. I miss the feeling of carving on a snowboard and also skate in transition. Although I have never done it, surfing on a foil looks like it has a lot of those similarities. In all honesty, I'm looking for some new sensations in the water. Also, with the ever-growing popularity of surfing, it's sometimes a little tough to have a good session without frustration. A surfoil allows me to do more open ocean exploration and also go down to the beach to a less desired wave on a normal surf craft. So with all that said, I'd like to welcome you to my first entry for the Lift Journal, which is a session-by-session record of my progression in foil. I'm going to be sharing the highs, the lows of my experience, and hopefully linking up with some people that can shed some light on this new activity. A lot of people don't realize what real water sports really is. Most of us just go online and just dream about all the boards they stock. By the way, wait till episode 3 if you want to see the biggest surfboard backstock room known to man. But back to this place, which I like to call Trip's Compound. Real Water Sports provides anything water related with rentals and lessons and obviously gear, either for the ocean or the sound side. Behind Real is Waterman's Grill, a restaurant with a full bar and really good food. Between the atmosphere and this view of the sound, people from across the bridge come here just to eat. To the right of that building is where I will call home base for the next few days, Waterman's Retreat. So I normally would just sleep in the back of my Ford Transit on trips like this, but my wife was cool enough to treat me to this place for my 41st birthday. Thanks, Jen. Anyway, this place is insane. Full kitchen, big beds, and again, this view every morning and every night. So the big picture of Trip's Compound is an all-inclusive destination spot on Cape Hatteras. The only thing that Trip doesn't have is his own airport.
All right, so it's Tuesday morning. I'm about to try the Efoil to start. When I was talking to Trip at Real Water Sports about this whole thing, initially I just wanted to go buy one of these and just figure it out. And I actually just called him to be like, what size do I want? Because that's the way my mind works. So, after talking to him for about 45 minutes about just the fact that it's not as easy as it looks, I decided to come down here. Today's the first lesson. Last night, me and Wills got some food over at the Waterman's Grill, and it was awesome. Obviously, this place is amazing. Waterman's Retreat. I mean, we're literally right on the water, this whole setup. So the Efoil, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of terrified of the whole experience. Sunday night, I woke up at 3 a.m. I guess that's Monday morning. I woke up at 3 a.m. just YouTubing any tutorial, anything to mentally prepare myself for this. This is completely out of my realm. Grew up skateboarding. I was up to par with that. Snowboarding, I got good pretty quick, nothing crazy. And then surfing, I suppose you can kind of form your own opinion on that one. But foiling in general and what I want to do with the surf foil, it's something completely different. So Wills is going to attempt to drone so you guys can see all my fails. And I'm going to attach a GoPro so you can see what it actually looks like. And I hope that everything goes well. I'm super excited, but I'm like, at the same time, super nervous. I mean, I'm literally being lifted out of the water by like a propeller. I don't even know what this thing is. It's so nuts, but yeah, I'll hopefully see you guys soon.
Registration sticker on it.
So this is our Efoil. This is going to be by far the easiest, most accessible way for anyone, any size, age, physical ability to get into foil.
This is Esben Boxer. He'll be my guide and foil instructor for the next few days. Esben is a Hatteras resident, waterman, and fireman on the island. He's been teaching at Real Water Sports for a long time and rips at just about anything he can stand on.
There'll be a point where you've got okay speed and you're kind of plowing, and then there's a point where you've got a little too much and you're playing. We're looking for kind of that right in between, that kind of bridge line there.
So a lot of people don't understand that the Efoil is actually powered by you. So for instance, my right hand, I have a throttle with a trigger. And obviously the further I squeeze it in, the faster I go. So unless you've actually turned one of these things, most people won't understand. It's a 3D experience. You're not turning the board, you're turning the foil underneath. And since you're now raised above the water, your heel, toe, and front foot, back foot really control everything that's going on. So anyone that's ever skated before, you understand how to ollie. And what foiling is really is a really long ollie. You simply apply, or actually not simply, apply back pressure to your back foot and then pop level with your front foot, and then when you're ready to come down, you simply apply more pressure on your front foot to get it back down. After about an hour on the Efoil, Esben decided it's graduation time. So we headed back, got the ski and this board, which was around 5 foot. And of course, now will be powered by the ski. Was a totally different experience. Luckily, I have a little bit of wakeboarding in my past. I spent a little time behind a boat. But on the Efoil, the power is underneath you and behind you. With the ski, the power is in front of you and lower than your core. This foil is so much more sensitive compared to the Efoil.
Just a touch of body weight can make you do this. And this is my first taco. This is one of those worst scenario situations. I didn't even know how close I was to the foil until I actually reviewed this footage. First attempt at pumping. This is one of the many sensations I'm looking for. I recently got a pump track at a local skate park and was thinking it might be like this. It's nothing like this at all. The speed you get when you're coming down was actually accelerating me past the ski at times.
My first lesson, and I was up there for about 2 hours and started on the Efoil, and just the whole idea of foiling is so interesting because you're constantly trying to keep yourself balanced, which is something that I've never felt. Snowboarding, it's a lot of legs, it's a lot of core, but it's also a lot different because what you're trying to do is in snowboarding, you're trying to go toe heel and you don't have to worry about front back. This whole situation is all front back, so it's a completely different way of doing things. Some of the feelings are so crazy when you actually lift and you're just going, you're just above water and you can feel the foil catch turbulence every once in a while. And then it just goes faster. And then eventually you find that perfect happy medium of planing, which is something similar to longboarding. When you put your feet a little close together, my instructor said that what I was doing was kind of keeping my feet here, but bending my knees to kind of meet each other. And it was stabilizing my stance. And it's just something wild. The instructors here were awesome. My instructor was great. Really makes a big difference, especially when you're not 100% comfortable with what you're about to do, to have someone ask you everything that you've done in the past so that way he can find things that are relatable to what you're about to do is so key. And my instructor was amazing. So did the Efoil for probably about an hour, and luckily I was able to pick it up. And then we went to a more prone style board that was about 45 liters, no propeller, just the regular wings, and I got towed behind the ski. Completely different experiment. The Efoil is so wide, and then this thing's so much narrower, so even getting up, I was wiggling, I was having a hard time, and on the Efoil, you find yourself constantly trying to balance off your back leg. When you're getting towed and you're holding onto a tow rope, you're constantly using your front leg. So it's kind of funny how like you train yourself to use your back leg and then you train yourself to use your front leg. And now both my legs are gonna be worked in about an hour. But it's a little different, it's a little scarier, just because there's a lot more room for error. With the Efoil, it's so wide, so you don't have to really worry about falling on the foil. But on these skinnier foils, the minute that you start to go like this, the idea in your body is to go that to kind of counteract it. But what happens is you can't straighten it out.
So you have to jump that way, which is something also took a few things. I got kind of close to the foil a few times, a little scary, but luckily I was fine and kept going. And once I got the rhythm, I started to pump. And when you pump, it's bananas, because you're up here and it's just like a swing, like to get momentum. You go down to go up. And when you go down and then you go up, that foil just accelerates so much to the point of where you have to almost adjust how much you're holding onto the rope, which was tricky. And luckily, I did some wakeboarding when I was younger, so I kind of knew how to get up and how to kind of, you go off your back foot, but the second you go off your back foot on a foil, the thing starts to rise. So it's like one of those things where you have to figure out all of that. But so we're going out into the ocean, and I wasn't expecting to be able to get this far on my first lesson, but again, the instructor has been great. But I'm going out into the ocean, and we're gonna see how that goes. I will say it is hard for me to, I try to on the Efoil just to do like a normal pop-up, and it's tough because when I longboard, I take my sweet ass time doing a pop-up. But on a foil, you gotta get up real fast. So it's gonna kind of take me back to when I used to ride lower leader, less than 6 foot boards. So yeah, wish me luck. I'll see you guys soon.
What we want right there.
Okay.
Little fickle wave, just enough white water to get us pushed forward, and then something to kind of deepen up just like that, so that you can get to your feet, but you're not foiling through a lot of turbulence.
Okay.
So one thing that will really help with your pop-up and catching the waves, getting your feet well controlled, is treating the pop-up just like you would on a 7 foot face wave.
Okay.
Pushing the nose down the wave, always keeping that front foot heavy, really committing to that drop. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone relate to a 2 foot day of foiling feeling like a biggest day of the surf of their life.
Okay, so here we go. This is what I came here to do. I just have to get this leash to stop wrapping around this foil. And I'm up and down. Side note, did you see how my hat got thrown off my head? I will eventually get used to this. Up and riding is Esben, doing his thing. This is when I realize I can't blame conditions. It's 100% experience. And this is Chris, a friend of Real Water Sports. And Chris is the ultimate frother.
my complete ride, and I still don't know what I paddled into, but the foil connected. Only issue was how fast that beach was coming up, and how I didn't know how to stop, but eventually I breached.
All right, so day one down, kind of did everything that I was thinking that I would be doing over the next 3 days. Actually, in one day, which was kind of sweet, ended up taking the prone foil into the ocean, and it's pretty wild. Prone paddling, they don't paddle that great because you do have this giant thing underneath you that's not working with you until you're actually getting momentum. So it took a little bit of, I guess, adjusting to where to paddle. The other thing that I didn't really think about coming from going behind the ski and also on the Efoil is that when you're prone paddling and you get up with a surfboard, you're kind of not trying to push down because you're trying to keep the surfboard above water. But this, once it gets momentum, it starts to lift out of the water, where you then have to get up. And that was super interesting. If you really think about like what foiling is and what makes it so interesting and special, is that especially when you're surf foiling a wake, if the wave is like this, you technically want the foil to be matching. So that way you're not gonna nosedive, but you're also not gonna lift out of the water. And the cool thing about it is that although I maybe only had one wave, it was my like longest wave, and I will tell you, it was so fast. It was nothing that I've ever experienced. Plus, everything that you think you're doing wrong, you're doing right. And once you're up on foil, it's so different from anything that you've ever felt. It feels like you're doing everything wrong. So although you're doing everything right, your mind is saying, make this stop, but your body's saying, let's just keep going. So it's definitely gonna take some serious mental breakdown, just going with the flow. And the cool thing about foiling, sorry to get off subject, but you're always going down this hill. And so you're always kind of pointing that nose. And that's something I'm gonna be working with tomorrow. We're gonna do a little bit of ski foiling and then letting go of the rope and letting me pump and starts to gain my own momentum. And then we're gonna go into the ocean, and apparently I'm gonna get towed in to waves. Because I kind of got the prone part, but I just really need a lot of practice. And unfortunately, it's a hurricane swell, but the way that it's kind of breaking, it's kind of deep. So it's not breaking deep enough to actually the wave breaking, but it's definitely enough of a wave for you to foil into if you have momentum already built up. So yeah, day one, I got to admit, I'm not that tired. We went to a skate park after, which is something that is not really something that I say at all. We went to a skate park, had a couple fun runs over in the Graveyard Run, skate park in Rodanthe. And yeah, so I'm not that tired. I was kind of expecting to be like completely shot, but I've just been drinking protein shakes all day. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but really looking forward to tomorrow. And yeah, see ya.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you liked this episode, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already.